What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some more NBA news to talk about with you guys. This time actually revolving around the New York Knicks, with it actually currently being reported they have officially made their decision on who is going to be their next coach, with it currently being reported that the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau are finalizing a 5-year deal to make him the franchise's next coach. And this is obviously all being reported by Woj. I'm pretty sure just got off his suspension, so if this is like his first, big report since that he's come back, this is a pretty big one, because I honestly, I've had my kind of opinions on, I don't know if this is, going to be right, but I think this is just kind of told the NBA that the Knicks kind of have their plan, and this is the first time I think the Knicks have actually got a solid plan in place. For example, people always like to clown the Knicks because they always do, certain interesting things where they were very interested in KD, Kyrie Irving, and interested in drafting Zion Williamson. Obviously, none of those things ever ended up happening. Literally not one of them. And again, there was a lot of things where they literally had like a developing coach. Like there was a high rumor that, let's just say, I think it would pretty much be the way to say it, that David Fizdale, he's never really coached, I would say, contenders at all. I mean, I believe he had a short stint on Memphis. He did actually assistant coach, LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, I do believe, and Chris Bosh at the Miami Heat. But other than that, in his coaching time, he's never really coached a contending team or anything like that. And a lot of people were saying, well, he's more of a development type of guy. That obviously didn't really work, and you're not really going to have him as the coach if you got KD, Kyrie Irving, or, Zion Williamson on the team, especially if you want to contend. But then the next rumor that, was kind of coming on is, who are they going to hire? Is it going to be Kenny Atkinson, Tom Thibodeau, Ty Lue, or Jason Kidd? And it ended up actually being out of Kenny Atkinson and Tom Tibbs, it did look like. Now, to kind of summarize it up, in my opinion, I think if they were going to hire Kenny Atkinson's been known to be a very, very good development coach in the league for a little bit now. I mean, he coached the Brooklyn Nets, and they ended up, barely having that good of a young core. That young core ended up exploding, and they found a lot of new guys out of it. And he was the guy that got D'Angelo Russell to where he is now, Jarrett Allen, etc. So again, he did pretty well, Kenny Atkinson did. And if he was going to be hired by the Knicks, a lot of rumors were that would be because they're going to, keep it young and keep developing these players. But a lot of people were saying if they go out and hire Tom Thibodeau, that means they're actually going to be trying to trade and sign for a lot of these veteran type of players that everyone's been rumoring they're going to try and go and get. For example, for those of you who haven't heard, there's a lot of rumors going out there right now that they're actually going to be very interested in Chris Paul, DeMar DeRozan, Danilo Gallinari, Victor Oladipo. A lot of those, not necessarily veterans, but very, good players on their certain teams that will be obviously contending for championships. For example, Gallinari and Chris Paul, who are both currently doing very, very good on their Oklahoma City Thunder team right now. They're contending. They're both, pretty good players. I mean, Chris Paul is an all-star. I'd say Gallinari is one of the best role players in the league. Then you got DeMar DeRozan, who's been contending for so long with the Toronto Raptors, being the best player on that team. Contended for that one season with the Spurs where he was the best player on the team. Obviously, the Spurs have dropped off a lot this year, and it hasn't even really actually been his fault. And then you got, as well, Victor Oladipo, who's been the best player on a contending team in the Indiana Pacers for a little bit now. I think this is, a very, very interesting thing. But obviously, yeah, there's been a high rumors that they would go after these players, but only if they would end up hiring, a veteran type of coach. Now, I don't think they were ever going to get Ty Lue, which was the rumor, because I honestly think the Brooklyn Nets are most likely going to, hire Ty Lue. And if I was Ty Lue, and I had a decision between the Knicks, who have no current All-Stars on the team whatsoever right now, and the Brooklyn Nets, who have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, two of the, best All-Star, offensive players in the league, then I definitely would be wanting to go coach the Brooklyn Nets. And I think that's just what would have happened. I think the Knicks might have offered him a deal, or might not have, just knowing that he was most likely always going to go to the Nets, and that's just how, it's most likely going to be. But again, I'm not exactly too sure. But yes, a lot of people are actually kind of clowning the move for Tom Thibodeau, actually being signed by them. But I actually think this is kind of a right signing, just for the basic thing of saying that this has kind of shown what they want to do. For example, if they hired Kenny Atkinson, it would have been cleared whether or not they thought of him as a development coach or as a coach that's going to, you know, try and get some stars on the team and actually try and contend. Because he's been known as a development coach for most of his career, and that seems to be what he specializes at. While if you got a Tom Thibodeau, he's definitely not a development coach, and he's used to having a contending team. You know, he did it with the Chicago Bulls for numerous years. And then when he got to the Minnesota Timberwolves, he took them to the playoffs for the first time in, you know, quite a bit of amount of time. So I think this was actually a right decision by the New York Knicks. Now they just need to go out and get the players that I think they need to do. There's been rumors they're going to go out and draft LaMelo Ball. Look, if you're going to get DeMar DeRozan, Danilo Gallinari, and Chris Paul all on the same team, which is rumored they might go after all three and could actually land all three, then I don't think LaMelo Ball is the player you're going to be wanting to draft, because DeMar DeRozan would now most likely play the shooting guard position, and RJ Barrett would play the small forward. So what I would assume would most likely happen is I honestly believe that the Knicks would now go on to potentially draft James Wiseman, and they'd have a starting five of one of the best starting fives in the league, in my opinion. Most likely, you'd have Chris Paul at point guard, DeMar DeRozan at shooting guard, RJ Barrett at small forward, Danilo Gallinari at power forward, and, you know, James Wiseman at center. Realistically, that's probably a 6-seed starting 5 lineup in the, you know, East next season, especially that, you know, the Brooklyn Nets are getting KD and Kyrie back. But yeah, that just shows how strong the East is going to be, in my opinion, next season. And then obviously they're going to have a pretty interesting bench unit, which could consist of maybe Taj Gibson, Reggie Bullock, Mitch Robinson, Kevin Knox, etc. I think the Knicks team would actually start to look very, very nice. But yeah, they're definitely going to have to see what they can potentially do. And yeah, I don't know. They definitely need the playmaking, which Chris Paul provides. They definitely need the shooting, which, you know, the three-point shooting, which Gallinari kind of provides. And I honestly think DeMar DeRozan, yes, he doesn't exactly bring the shooting, because he's not necessarily the greatest three-point shooter, but he just brings some more star power that kind of gets added to the team. And I definitely think that team could definitely compete in the East for a couple of years. And yeah, would actually still have a young core to back it up if the veterans start to, you know, decrease or something like that. And obviously, yeah, you know, Chris Paul is getting up there in age, same with DeMar, same with Gallinari, but I think they've got a couple of good years left in him, you know, in them. And then you've obviously got, you know, potentially RJ Barrett, Kevin Knox, Mitch Robinson, and whatever player they decide to draft, whether it's James Wiseman, LaMelo Ball, or whatever it's going to be, to kind of go on the team with them. So I think that's going to be a very interesting team. And yeah, Tom Tibbs is usually a pretty good coach at contending with teams. I mean, he took the Chicago Bulls to some interesting times, and the Minnesota Timberwolves to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. I think, yeah, there's going to be a very interesting kind of thing to see how the New York Knicks are going to go about it next season. But if they don't end up getting all these stars, then I don't understand what the point of the Tom Thibodeau hiring would have been. Because, I mean, he's a coach that I'd say needs stars to be effective. I mean, a lot of coaches do, but he's not necessarily a development coach, I would say, which is what Kenny Atkinson pretty much is. So yeah, I think the Knicks this is a kind of a sign by them to pretty much say that they're going to be going out and targeting players like Chris Paul, DeMar DeRozan, Danilo Gallinari, etc. But anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all the latest NBA news and NBA content. Definitely don't forget to comment in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts and opinions on this? Do you guys think it'd be a good idea by, you know, the New York Knicks to obviously have Tom Thibodeau as their coach? Because obviously they've just signed him. What do you guys think about that? Again, I definitely would like to know your thoughts and opinions on it all down below. But also don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel, MIRL/Long channel. Definitely don't forget to check out my podcast as well if you haven't already. Links for that will all be in the description down below. But as I was saying, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.